And an error is a memory replaying in the subconscious. So all of your problems and all of the problems of creation is in the subconscious as a memory. And this is what Shakespeare calls for be known. You've had it before. And unless you get rid of it, it will play again. So the problem is a memory replaying the stuff again. Now, Ho'oponopono has 3 elements. Just 3 elements. Repentance, which means I'm sorry. What are you sorry for? I'm sorry for whatever is going on in me, that my mother's angry at me, or somebody's angry at me, or I'm having financial problems. Something's going on in me for which I would like to make amends. So you're saying I'm sorry to whatever is going on in me that I experience as a problem replaying. So it's old stuff. You've had it before. You came into this lifetime again with it. Unless you get rid of it, it's going to come back again with you. Then the other one is forgiveness. Please forgive me. And only the divinity here can forgive you. So the forgiveness has to come up here. This is where the forgiveness has to come. And then finally, transmutation. And what does transmutation look like? So I'm going to take a memory here and show you what divinity can do. Divinity can transmute. And only this part of you can do it. The intellect cannot do it. The superconscious cannot do it, and the subconscious can't do it. So what does transmutation look like? Here's the memory, which is a problem. So now the mana comes down into the subconscious, and what the divinity will do is will take this memory and purify it. So it will begin to dismantle the memory. But the energy is there, but it's pure energy. So now it's pure energy. So what the divinity will do, it will do the next thing, pull that energy out and put it back up here in the omaka. Just pull the pure energy so it can be used again. Pull it up, put it up there. So now you have a void. Well, divinity has transmuted that memory to pure energy, pulled it out, void, and now divinity says, now I can put inspiration in there. So now the inspiration comes down. And so every time you do, I love you, thank you, drink the solar water, you do all this stuff, as long as you're cleaning, this thing will just go on forever and ever. The minute you start asking questions, you're thinking, how come, why, the whole thing jammed.
I had the privilege of doing a wonderful interview with Joe a couple of days ago, and it'll be on local TV here, but it's also available to watch on the web. It's a very personal interview. Joe really, it's just a wonderful, wonderful interview. So if anyone is interested who lives on Maui, I can email you the times that it'll be on TV. Or if you're off island, I can send you a link so you can watch it on the internet. I don't know yet. I'd have to send it to you. Yeah. I'll tell you an easier way to do it. Actually, if you just keep your eyes open on, if you go to YouTube/user/LifeOnMaui, it'll be up in a couple of weeks. YouTube.com/user/LifeOnMaui. And that's it.
Thank you, Steve. Before I have Dr. Holen, can I have one of those pens too?
Which choice would you like, sir?
Blue.
Yes.
I'm a blue man. Thank you. Before I have Dr. Holen come back up here, do you have any questions that maybe I can answer for you? No questions at all. You're all at 0. We have a question over there, and we have a question back there, and looks like we have one over here. Yeah, I had a feeling there would be a question or two for me.
My question is, my mother tongue is Italian, so how would it be to use, to translate into Italian, I love you, I'm sorry. So I could say it in Italian, of course, isn't it?
Yes, I would definitely say do that, and I would definitely love to know what the phrases are in Italian, because I think it would be very poetic, and I think that would be another reason for me to say them in a different way. So I would welcome it. I'd love to know.
I'm sorry, mi dispiace.
Ask
Please
him to write it
forgive
up on
me.
the board, Joe.
Per favore, scusami. Perdonami. I love you. Ti amo.
Ti amo is what I say to Narissa all the time. You mean I've been cleaning for 8 years and I didn't even know it beforehand? Ti amo. Ti amo.
And grazie. Thank you.
Yes,
Grazie.
of course. Thank you. Wonderful contribution. Thank you.
My friend is a nurse at a psychiatric hospital, and she would like your suggestions for raising the consciousness of the staff at that hospital so they can have some miracles for their patients.
That's a wonderful question. I'm going to begin the answer of it, but then I'm going to allow Dr. Holen to continue it since he was actually at the hospital where that difference was made. When I was researching the book and I spent time with him, I asked him about how he went through the process of causing that cleanse in that hospital. And again, he always came back by saying he wasn't working on the hospital, he wasn't working on the patients, he wasn't working on the staff, he was working on himself. One of the things he did was, as he started in the first few days, he noticed as he walked through the halls that the walls, the paint, the buildings seemed very unhappy. Now that sounds very strange, but I'm used to that with him because we actually came into this room yesterday, and we came into this room, I guess it wasn't yesterday, but earlier this morning, to get a feel for the room. And we actually were looking at the walls, we were looking at the floors, we were letting it speak to us. When he was doing it at the mental hospital over there, and he was saying, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, again, just cleaning himself without anybody making any request of it, certainly not him, somebody decided to go and repaint the walls. Changes like that were being made that on one level seems like that's can't be related in any way, shape, or form. But also, as he kept doing it, some of the patients who had to be shackled didn't have to be shackled. Patients who had to be sedated no longer had to be sedated. This was continuing to such an extent that the staff, and you got to remember, this was a very uncomfortable place to work. The staff was high turnover. People didn't want to go to work every day because when they went into the mental ward, they would often have to walk with their back against the wall because they were afraid of being attacked. Dr. Len just kept doing his cleaning again on himself, and the patients were getting better, the walls were getting repainted, some remodeling was being done, and the staff would say, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing for the patients and everybody else, please do it for me too. The answer to the question is that it was one person working on himself that was influencing the building and everything in it. And that is a good cue for you to come up and to continue that.
She could do the same thing.
I understand. She can definitely do the same thing. That's the whole answer. That's the whole metaphor, if you will, is that what he was doing in one place, you can do wherever you're at. No matter what the situation, the business, the corporation, the hospital, I don't care what it is. That's the answer. Great question. You have another question for me? Way over here. Can you raise your hand again so he's trying to find the best way to get to you.
Cindy.
Nice and clear.
After your first actual interaction with Dr. E, when did you notice a difference or experience serendipity?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've always experienced serendipity, so I don't want to go and say it just happened because I was doing this work. But when I noticed some things happening that gave me concrete proof for myself that zero limits, Ho'oponopono, what he teaches and so forth, was having an obvious effect in my life, that happened the very first weekend that I did the very first seminar. And in fact, it was on the very first day. Now, I did do that interview with him for 45 minutes or so. We corresponded a little bit by email. I don't think he remembers any of it because he was doing so much of it back then. I wasn't getting anything out of it. And in fact, I had hired him by email to do some healing work on me. And he wrote back a bizarre email telling me he went to the divinity and he erased something or other and blah, blah, blah was happening in my life. I never felt a thing. And I thought, this is the guy who helped the mental institute ward, an entire ward of people? It doesn't make any sense. And so I still went because I was so profoundly curious, plus I felt like something within me was saying, go check this out. Ever since Mark first told me about it, and I dismissed it, it kept coming up. I went to the very first weekend, and on the very first day, I think a couple things were taking place. One is, by being in his energy field, I think I caught some of that. Much like a tuning fork or a hanging up at one that's already tuned beside it, they start to go into the same tune. I started to feel like I was merging with that. I don't think I was thinking that consciously. That's how I rationalize it today and explain it today. The second thing is, I really caught the idea that saying, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, was really profoundly easy. It didn't cost me anything, and I could learn to do it pretty quick. And so I was starting to do it. Now,